The Judgment. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council stretched impossibly high, its crystalline walls refracting starlight from 1,000 distant suns. Commander Sarah Chen stood motionless, her regulation uniform starched to perfection, her posture unwavering despite the crushing weight of responsibility. Beside her, Ambassador Elijah Okafor clutched a data tablet containing humanity's carefully prepared petition for galactic recognition. They were the first humans to set foot in this legendary place. After centuries of dreaming about the stars, humanity had finally achieved faster-than-light travel just 15 years ago. First contact had come shortly after, not by alien ships arriving at Earth, but by galactic border patrol vessels intercepting human exploratory missions just beyond Pluto. Now, after years of preliminary negotiations, Earth's representatives stood before the Council to formally request membership in the galactic community. The Council recognizes the representatives of the planet designated as Earth, announced the session speaker, a tall being composed of swirling blue-white energy contained within a transparent humanoid form. The being's voice resonated directly in Sarah's mind rather than through her ears. Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, Elijah began, his deep voice steady and measured. Humanity comes before you today with open hands and hopeful hearts. We bring our art, our science, our unique perspective on existence. We seek knowledge, friendship, and the opportunity to contribute to the greater galactic community. A ripple of movement spread through the assembled delegates, thousands of beings representing over 800 species. The movement did not seem friendly. "We have observed your kind for millennia," responded a being resembling a massive jellyfish floating in a containment field. "You fight wars over imaginary lines on your planet. You slaughter each other over differences in belief systems. You poison your own atmosphere and oceans. Why should such a species be granted access to the stars?" Sarah stepped forward. "With respect, Counselor, we acknowledge our imperfections, but we have grown. Earth is more united now than at any point in our history. We have largely overcome the resource limitations that drove many of our past conflicts. Unity achieved just decades ago, after thousands of years of continuous warfare," noted another delegate, this one a silicon-based life form with a crystalline exoskeleton. "Your species advances at an alarming pace, Commander Chen. You went from primitive combustion engines to antimatter containment in less than 2 centuries. For 3 hours, Sarah and Elijah presented humanity's case. They shared Earth's greatest art and music. They explained human scientific discoveries and philosophical traditions. They showed recordings of disaster relief efforts, medical breakthroughs, and international cooperation. None of it seemed to matter. "The vote is complete," announced the session speaker finally. The massive display behind them showed the results. Out of 812 representatives, only 17 had voted in humanity's favor. "Humanity is deemed too volatile and unpredictable for membership," the speaker continued. "Furthermore, this council finds your species presents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability." Sarah felt a cold knot form in her stomach. What exactly does that mean? A new image appeared on the display, a map of Earth's solar system with a glowing bubble surrounding it. "You will be contained within your home system," explained the speaker. "A barrier will prevent your ships from traveling beyond the orbit of your outermost planet. This exile is not permanent, merely until your species demonstrates sufficient evolution of character." "And how long might that be?" Elijah asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. "A mere moment in cosmic time," replied the jellyfish being. "Perhaps 10,000 years." "This is outrageous," Sarah protested. "You can't just imprison an entire species." "The decision is made," said the Silicon delegate dispassionately. "Be grateful." Some members voted for more permanent solutions. Armed guards appeared, tall, 4-armed beings with skin like polished obsidian. They escorted Sarah and Elijah back to their ship without further discussion. As their vessel pulled away from the massive council station, Sarah watched through the viewport as strange energy beams shot from hidden satellites, beginning to form the barrier that would become humanity's prison. "What do we tell everyone back home?" she whispered. Helija's eyes hardened with determination. "We tell them the truth. The stars have rejected us. For now." He turned to face her. "But this isn't the end. This is just the beginning." As their ship accelerated toward Earth, Sarah knew with absolute certainty that humanity would not accept this sentence. Somehow, someday, they would break free. The exile had begun, but so had humanity's greatest challenge. 20 years passed since the barrier went up around Earth's solar system. Director Sarah Chen stood at the window of the United Earth Alliance headquarters in Geneva, watching snow fall on the Alps in the distance. At 55, her hair was streaked with silver, but her eyes remained as sharp and determined as they had been on that fateful day before the council. "They're ready for you, Director," said her assistant. Sarah nodded and walked to the meeting room, where Earth's greatest minds waited. The walls displayed holographic images from across the solar system. The Mars megadomes with their thriving cities, the research stations orbiting Saturn, the mining operations among Jupiter's moons. "Show me our progress," Sarah said as she took her seat. Dr. Maya Patel, head of the physics division, stood. She was short and compact, with quick, precise movements that matched her brilliant mind. "We've made another breakthrough in understanding the barrier's composition," she said. She tapped on her tablet, and a complex equation appeared on the main screen. "According to our analysis, the Council uses a 5-dimensional approach to energy manipulation. We've developed a theoretical 7-dimensional model." She smiled. "They never considered that possible. They made assumptions based on normal development patterns of spacefaring species," added Dr. Quan Chen, Sarah's younger brother and the head of xenobiology. "No species has ever advanced as quickly as humans. We're an anomaly." "And the practical applications?" Sarah asked. "We can build ships faster than anything in their fleet," Maya said, "and potentially develop countermeasures against their barrier technology." Next to speak was Admiral Tomas Rodriguez, commander of resource operations. His weathered face spoke of years spent in the harsh environments of the asteroid belt. "We've transformed our resource situation," he reported. "When the exile began, we were struggling with limited resources. Now, we've mined enough rare metals from the asteroid belt to build thousands of ships." "The food situation?" Sarah asked. "The hydroponic farms on Mars produce twice what we need," Thomas answered. "We're completely self-sufficient." Sarah looked around the table. "For 20 years, we've prepared. We've united our people. We've advanced our technology. We've gathered our resources." She stood and walked to the window again. "When the Council exiled us, they thought they were containing a threat. They never considered they were giving us time to grow stronger." She turned back to the room. "But we still face one massive problem: the barrier." Elijah Okafor, now the elderly chairman of the United Earth Alliance, cleared his throat. "Actually, we may have found a way through." The room went silent as all eyes turned to him. "Dr. Patel's team has discovered the barrier isn't solid," Elijah explained. "It pulses. There are microseconds when certain areas become thin enough that a properly equipped ship might slip through." "How many ships could go at once?" Admiral Rodriguez asked. "Just one," Maya said. "Small and fast. But once through, it could establish a base beyond the barrier and potentially find ways to disrupt it from the outside." Sarah looked at the faces around her, determined, brilliant people who had spent decades preparing for this moment. "Then it's time," she said simply. Later that night, Sarah stood alone on the roof of the headquarters, looking up at the stars beyond the invisible barrier. Soon, humanity would walk among them again, not as the primitive species the Council had dismissed, but as something new, something forged in the crucible of exile. "You should have killed us when you had the chance," she whispered to the distant Council. The stars twinkled back, unaware that their order was about to change forever. The prototype ship Prometheus hovered at the edge of the solar system, just inside the barrier. From the outside, it looked ordinary. Just another research vessel studying the outer planets. But inside, it carried Earth's greatest hope. Dr. Maya Patel checked her instruments one last time. Beside her, Admiral Rodriguez watched the barrier shimmer faintly against the blackness of space. "Are you sure this will work?" he asked. Maya nodded. "The barrier will thin in Sector 47 in exactly 3 minutes for precisely 0.83 seconds. We can slip through." Rodriguez turned to the crew of 4, the best pilot, engineer, and 2 scientists Earth had to offer. "Remember, if we make it through, we don't come back, not until we've established a foothold outside." The ship's experimental engines hummed as they powered up to full capacity. Maya counted down the seconds on her screen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. The pilot pushed the controls forward. The Prometheus surged toward what looked like solid energy. For a terrible moment, the ship shuddered and alarms blared throughout the cabin. Then suddenly, they were through. Silence fell over the crew as they stared at the stars ahead. Stars no human had seen up close for 20 years. "We did it," Maya whispered. Then louder, "We did it." Rodriguez didn't celebrate. "Set course for Target Alpha," he ordered, "and activate the stealth technology. We're not free if they catch us." Target Alpha was a small rocky planet in a nearby star system. According to Council data secretly gathered during the initial contact period, it was classified as uninhabitable and ignored by all spacefaring races. 3 days later, the Prometheus entered orbit around the dusty red world. Scanners showed extreme temperatures, thin atmosphere, and constant dust storms. "Perfect," Rodriguez said, surprising the crew. "Perfect?" asked the engineer. "It's a hellscape." Rodriguez smiled. "Exactly. No one will look for us here. No one will want this world. But we've survived on Mars for decades. This is just a bigger challenge." Over the next 6 months, the Prometheus made 4 more trips through the barrier, each time bringing a construction ship loaded with prefabricated habitat modules. Under the leadership of Dr. Esther Kim, a specialist in extreme environments, the first human colony outside Sol took shape beneath the planet's surface. "We won't call Earth," Rodriguez instructed as the underground base expanded. "Not yet. First, we need more outposts." 1 year later, humanity had secret bases on 3 different worlds, all deemed worthless by Council standards. From these hidden locations, human ships began mapping nearby systems, studying Council patrol routes, and identifying more planets to claim. In her office on Target Alpha, now renamed Novaterra, Dr. Kim reviewed the latest colonization plans. "The Council thinks humans can only survive in perfect conditions," she told her team. "That's their biggest mistake. We thrive on challenges." On a desert world with toxic rain, humans built sealed cities with advanced filtration systems. On an ice planet with temperatures that could freeze oxygen, they dug deep into the crust and found warmth. On a heavy gravity world that would crush most species, they developed exoskeletons and adapted. 2 years after the Prometheus first broke through the barrier, Admiral Rodriguez and Dr. Paddle stood on a hill overlooking the main colony on Novaterra. What had started as a few underground modules was now a sprawling complex with greenhouses, factories, and shipyards, all hidden beneath the surface. "How long before the Council discovers us?" Maya asked. Rodriguez watched as a new ship rose from the hidden launch bay, heading out to establish yet another colony. "It doesn't matter anymore," he said. "By the time they find us, we'll be too widespread to contain." Humanity wasn't just escaping. They were expanding. In the skies above, the stars no longer represented a prison. They were humanity's new frontier. And soon, perhaps their empire. The reckoning. 5 years had passed since humans first broke through the barrier. Their hidden network now included 17 planets across 9 star systems. On Proxima Centauri, the closest colony to Earth, humans had built their largest operation, a massive manufacturing facility buried deep within a mountain range. The facility produced the quantum phase drives that allowed human ships to move faster than any council vessel. Governor Amara Osei stood in the colony's command center, watching workers on the production floor below. At 42, she'd spent her entire adult life training for life beyond Earth's solar system. Now she led over 5,000 colonists who called this harsh world home. Governor called her operations director urgently. Long-range sensors have detected ships entering the system. They're not ours. Amara's heart raced. Activate silent protocol. All operations underground. No signals, no transmissions. But it was too late. The manufacturing facility's energy signature was too large to hide completely. 3 hours later, a massive vessel appeared in orbit. Its sleek, crystalline design marked it clearly as Council technology. 2 smaller ships flanked it. "They're scanning us," reported the sensor officer, her voice tight with tension. Amara took a deep breath. "We knew this day would come. Send the alert to other colonies. Then open a channel." On the main screen appeared a tall, avian being with iridescent feathers and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Amara recognized the species from old records. This was an enforcer of the Council, one of their elite peacekeepers. "I am High Enforcer Tavik of the Galactic Council," the alien stated coolly. "You are humans operating illegally outside your containment zone. Explain yourselves." Amara stepped forward. "I am Governor Amara Osei of the Free Human Alliance. We reject the Council's unlawful imprisonment of our species." Tavik's upper eyes narrowed. "Your rejection is irrelevant. The Council's decision was final. Your colony and all humans present will be taken into custody and returned to the Sol system." "I'm afraid we can't agree to that," Amara replied calmly. "You have no choice," Tavik said. "My ships carry weapons that can reduce your settlement to ash. Surrender now." Amara touched a hidden button on her console, sending a prearranged signal. "Actually, we do have a choice." Suddenly, 7 human ships appeared from behind Proxima Centauri V's moon, where they had been hiding. They were smaller than the Council vessels, but moved with incredible speed. Tavik's 4 eyes widened. "Impossible. Your technology is nowhere near this advanced." "You've been watching our empty cage for 5 years, Amara said. "You haven't seen what we've been building out here." The Council ships fired first, beams of energy that should have destroyed the lead human vessels. Instead, the beams seemed to bend around them, dissipating harmlessly into space. 7-dimensional energy manipulation, Amara explained, allowing herself a small smile. "While you were containing us, we were studying you, learning your weaknesses." The human ships returned fire. Their weapons cut through the Council ship's shields as if they weren't even there, but they aimed precisely, disabling engines and weapon systems without destroying the vessels. "We could destroy you," Amara told the stunned enforcer. "But unlike the Council, we don't eliminate those we consider threats." The battle was over in minutes. As the crippled Council ships drifted in orbit, Amara gave one final message to Tavik. "Return to the Council. Tell them humanity is free. Tell them we've claimed worlds they thought uninhabitable. Tell them our technology now surpasses theirs." She paused. "And tell them we remember how they judged us." As the Council ships limped away, emergency signals blazed across human space. Every colony went on high alert. On Earth, the news spread quickly. Their secret was out. In her office, Amara looked at the stars through the viewport. "And now," she whispered, "the real test begins." Across the galaxy, the Council received Tavik's urgent message. The humans had escaped, and they were no longer the primitive species that had been exiled 5 years before. The Council chamber was in chaos. The session speaker struggled to maintain order as delegates shouted accusations and demands. "How did they break through the barrier?" demanded the jellyfish being. "How have they advanced so quickly?" asked another. "We must crush them immediately," insisted a warlike species from the outer rim. Finally, the speaker managed to restore order. "The Council has declared humans a galactic emergency," they announced. 3 battle fleets will be dispatched to hunt down and eliminate their colonies. But humans proved hard to catch. They disappeared when cornered, only to strike elsewhere. They used technology that confused Council sensors and weapons that cut through Council shields. 3 months after the battle at Proxima Centauri, war raged across the edge of Council space. Ambassador Elijah Okafor, now 80 years old but still sharp, sat in his office aboard the human flagship Defiance. He had trained his whole life for diplomacy with alien species. Now that training faced its greatest test. "Ambassador, the ship is approaching," his assistant said. Elijah nodded and straightened his formal attire. This meeting could change everything. The view screen showed a strange vessel entering the neutral zone where they'd agreed to meet. It was unlike any Council ship. Its hull looked like flowing water frozen in space. "The Aquari ship has arrived," announced the captain. "Their representative is ready to board." Elijah walked to the meeting room and waited. When the door opened, a being entered that looked like a cross between a human and a fish. Tall and slender with blue-green skin, gills on its neck, and webbed hands. Large, expressive eyes studied Elijah carefully. "I am Marinath of the Aquari," the alien said in a musical voice. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." "Thank you for reaching out to us," Elijah replied. "We didn't expect to find friends in Council space." Marinath made a sound like gentle waves. "The Council is not loved by all its members. For 12,000 years, they have kept lesser species like mine from advancing too far. We can build ships, but not weapons. We can trade, but not expand. Why would you risk helping us?" Elijah asked. "The Council will punish you. Because you've done what none have dared." Marinath's eyes gleamed. "You've shown the Council can be defeated. And you are not the only ones they've wronged." Over the next weeks, messages came from other species, the crystalline Lithos, whose planet was stripped of resources by Council mining, the hive-minded Nexus, whose request to colonize empty worlds was denied, and a dozen others with similar stories. Sarah Chen, now the leader of all human colonies, was called in to meet with these potential allies. Though in her 70s, she remained a commanding presence, her voice still capable of inspiring trust. "We don't just offer you weapons," she told the gathered representatives aboard the Defiance. "We offer you partnership, a new kind of alliance where all species have equal voice." "The Council has ruled for 12,000 years, said the Lithos leader, his crystal body glinting under the lights. "They control most of the galaxy." "But they're spread thin," Sarah replied. "And they've grown comfortable. They never imagined being challenged." "What do you call this new alliance?" asked the Nexus representative, a small insect-like being that spoke for her entire species. Sarah smiled. "The Coalition of the Forgotten. Those the Council dismissed, contained, or exploited." Within 2 months, the coalition grew to include 23 species. Human engineers taught them to build better ships. Human scientists shared medical and technological breakthroughs. Human tacticians helped plan coordinated strikes against Council strongholds. The war intensified. Council propaganda portrayed humans as dangerous savages who had corrupted peaceful races. Coalition propaganda showed the truth of Council oppression. For 3 years, battles raged across hundreds of worlds. The Coalition liberated oppressed planets, while the Council struggled to maintain control. Then came the final confrontation. The Coalition fleet, over 1,000 ships from 24 species, gathered at the edge of the galactic core. At its center lay Centralia, the Council's capital world. Admiral Maya Patel, now commanding the human flagship Aurora, looked at the tactical display showing the massive Council defensive fleet. "They outnumber us 2-1, noted her Aquari second in command. Maya nodded, "But their technology is predictable, and predictability is a weakness." The battle began with a Council advance, exactly as Maya had predicted. Their formations were textbook, unchanged for millennia, because they'd never needed to evolve. The coalition forces executed a complex series of maneuvers that no single species could have devised alone. Human ingenuity, Nexus coordination, Lithos resilience, and Aquarii adaptability combined to create something the Council had never faced: genuine innovation in warfare. Council ships fell by the dozens, then by the hundreds. Their rigid command structure collapsed under pressure it had never been designed to withstand. 7 hours later, coalition ships surrounded Centralia, the Council headquarters. A massive structure that had stood for 12,000 years lay open before them. Sarah Chen, now 85 years old, insisted on leading the delegation herself despite her failing health. Supported by Elijah Okafor and representatives from each coalition species, she entered the council chamber. The remaining council members waited, their arrogance finally broken by defeat. 25 years ago, I stood in this chamber as you sentenced humanity to imprisonment, Sarah said, her voice carrying despite her age. You judged us too volatile, too unpredictable, too dangerous to join your perfect order. She looked around at the coalition representatives beside her, beings of every shape and composition, united in purpose. You were right to fear us, she continued, not because we are violent, but because we refuse to accept limitations, not because we are unpredictable, but because we imagine possibilities you never dared to consider, not because we are dangerous, but because we inspire others to dream of something better. Sarah stepped forward, facing the Council directly. The age of the Council is over. The Coalition will now govern galactic affairs, not through control and limitation, but through cooperation and potential. Every species will have a voice. Every world will have a choice. She turned to leave, then paused and looked back. Oh, and one more thing. That barrier around Earth's solar system. Dismantle it immediately. As they left the chamber, Elijah leaned close to Sarah. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. All these years of struggle. Sarah looked at the representatives of the coalition. Former enemies, now allies. Former subjects, now equals. Beyond the massive windows of the council station, she could see the stars, no longer a prison, but an endless frontier of possibility. Yes, she said simply. It was worth everything. 3 months later, Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the Aurora as it approached Earth. The barrier was gone, dissolved into nothingness. Behind her ship came a vast fleet, not of war vessels, but of diplomatic ships carrying representatives from every coalition species. First contact was happening again, but this time, humanity was not the petitioner. They were the leaders, bringing the galaxy to Earth's doorstep. As the blue-green planet filled the view screen, Sarah thought about the journey that had brought them here, from rejection to exile, from exile to escape, from escape to alliance, and from alliance to victory. The Council had tried to imprison humanity among the stars. Instead, they had given humanity the stars themselves. Welcome home, whispered Earth to its returning children. Welcome home, whispered the stars to their new guardians. The exile was over. The age of humanity, and of the coalition they had forged, had just begun.